Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm still working on Zoom. I'm going to get it right one of these days. It's always on Wednesday at noon Central Time. And like I said, I aspire to someday getting that all on the invitation to you. We're a work in progress. Okay, well, today, I'm going to start by talking about something that occurred this morning. It was perfect. It didn't even show up as an upset. It was one of these nothing little experiences that we all have hundreds of times a day. And it was, I had made an appointment to do something tomorrow. And then this person informed me that what I wanted to do can't be done. And all I can say is my thoughts went like this. Maybe I should check with someone to see, because there's a bunch of us going, if this can be done and blah, 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 blah. The mind went on. And I immediately was struck. What I was initially struck with, I was not in the present moment. I was now living in tomorrow. Well, you can be guaranteed if you're not in the present moment and you're thinking about something at another time in the past or the future, you're being driven by your ego. And so and that's the first thing I thought about. And I immediately went, okay, so what's really going on here? Because I'm not willing to upset my peace of mind for this little ploy of let's start thinking about tomorrow and how it may not go the way I want it to. Well, I got that immediately. It's like, well, Calica, you can let go the way I want it to, because really, and this is the way I set my day up every morning, whatever happens is perfect. And that is what is to happen. Now, and not so much now, I am trainable and my mind is starting to shift. But what used to happen before is I'd get stuck in, oh, but this is the way I wanted it to go. I need to get this done. I have to accomplish this. It was kind of like seeing my little checklist. And I couldn't check it off because it was now not going to get done the way I wanted it to get done. And you see, all that is ego ploy to just scramble my peace of mind. And so it's my, God-given mind, the mind of love, that needs to come in and say to the child, honey, sit down. This is like in the movie theater, sitting next to God, and I'm interacting with the movie like it's real. And God's saying, honey, this part usually upsets you. Do you want popcorn? And I have to do that for myself. So as I was, the thoughts were starting to wind up, I like to say, well, no, we had to go here in order to do this, in order to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And it was a wind up. It was the ego wind up. There really wasn't an upset. So there was no pitch, but it was the wind up to the pitch. It's like, okay, so it's not going to happen the way I want it to. Who should I talk to? And it was like, no, stop, stop, stop. It's this idea that I think I know what is in my best interest. Never do I know what is in my best interest. Ever. Ever. I'm saying this for me. Never, ever do I know what's in my best interest. But, you know, since I had these bad habits of thinking since birth, I'm always trying to figure out how to make reality as smooth as possible. You know, I want to make a reality smooth. I want it to work the way I know it would be smoothest for me. Well, there's many things wrong with that thinking. And I'll just share you what I thought. Holy Spirit came in and said, you know, this is doomed to failure. The reality is, I don't know what's in my best interest. And sometimes, in fact, all the time, never have I been disappointed in this. When I hit a roadblock or a bumpy road, oh my God, that's when I learn the most. That's when things just shift, miracles just, you know, explode in my face. And it's usually, I never had, you know, it's like, you know, the foreclosure, cancer. I mean, I could list a whole long litany of big ones that did not land as good news pretty much ever until I took on seeing them differently. And the prayer became, Holy Spirit, the road is bumpy. They're wanting to take my house. I'm terminal, you know, whatever. I need some help here. And the prayer is the critical piece. And I guarantee, just because I'm using myself as the example, prayer was the last thing I went to. I'm going to manage this, you know. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to make this different. I'm going to make this okay. And it was the way I wanted it to go. And it was all about smoothing it out, making it, in my mind, as effortless as possible. But in the reality of me wanting to do that, I'm being driven by my egoic thoughts. Let's see how we can create this smooth way of being. And the very idea of me thinking that, there was no trust in God. No trust in God at all. It was trust in the inherent ability of Calico to make her way as easy as possible. And, you know, I had to resign as my teacher many times. It happened once. There were many times I had to turn over. I am giving up as my teacher. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what's in my best interest. Holy Spirit, you do. Help me see what it is that I'm needing to see. Because I also realized this morning when I had these thoughts about, you know, tomorrow's not going to go the way I think it's going to go. I recognize them as doubt thoughts. And doubt thoughts are devious. They're endless and devious. And as soon as you recognize you're in a doubt thought, drop into prayer immediately. In order to reduce your suffering as much as possible, drop into prayer immediately and see that you're having doubt thoughts. And then ask Holy Spirit to bring the doubt thoughts up, because a lot of people, and I work with a lot of people, I'm confused. That's a big one. And it's like, ooh, that's a big one. That's the biggest one ego uses. I'm confused. I don't know. Well, you know, that's not going to be helpful. So we have to turn that over to Holy Spirit and say, Holy Spirit, bring up the doubt thoughts so I can see them with clarity, so that I can really turn this around to be a powerful learning experience for me. As I know that's all you want, but I'm getting in your way all the time with thinking, oh no, I've got to change this around. I've got to do something. This is not going to go the way I planned it or wanted it to, you know. And again, my sloppy thinking, it's a lifetime of sloppy thinking. It's not just like I woke up one morning with sloppy thinking. It was like, that's all I knew was sloppy thinking. So really, the way back has been to become humble that I don't know what's in my best interest. You know, I had a cab driver the other day. Anyone that's been at La Casa will appreciate this. Margaret, this is specifically for you. And he was talking about, you know, where have you lived in Mexico? And I said, well, Chapala. And he asked where in Chapala. And I said, well, we used to go to the Penguin restaurant, the dirt floor restaurant all the time. And he started laughing. He said, well, do you know La Casa de los Milagros? And I said, well, that's where I was staying. And he was saying, oh, and I was there for 5 years. And so he was just like, he said, wow, that place is beautiful. It's got beautiful lawns and a big pool and all of this. And I just turned to him and I said, it was kind of a hell on earth experience for me. It may have looked good on the outside, but I tell you, what was going on the inside was anything but, oh, this is like beautiful. And he started laughing because he'd been to rehab, alcoholic rehab. And I said, for 5 years, I was like in rehab for my mind. And I said, and he said, well, did you get out much? And I said, well, I had to ask for permission anytime I went anywhere. And he started laughing hysterically. He said, oh, it was serious lockdown. And I said, it was serious. And I did this willingly. You know, no one forced me at gunpoint into this living experience for 5 years. And the reality was, it took me a while to get humble. I didn't wake up one day humble. I know what's in my best interest. Well, just saying that, there's nothing in that statement that's humble. Nothing. I know what's in my best interest. Well, great. How's that been working for you? Foreclosure, terminal cancer, you know, just checking. And it's kind of like the humility. And I remember some of the conversations I had with those that had gone before me and was going, so-and-so said for me to do this, and so-and-so said for me to do that. And I was just outraged most of the time. And the way it was set up, and this is, you know, I don't know if any of you are watching The Chosen. It's about Jesus and the disciples. Well, when Jesus puts 2 disciples together, they're usually not in agreement with each other. In fact, they usually don't even like each other. Well, guess what? That's the way it was set up at La Casa. You were joined with whomever you didn't like and didn't get along with. I mean, this is the way it was set up. And it was basically for us to get humble. And it worked. It took me probably longer than most because I fought it. I just fought it. It's like, these folks are fucking nuts. And you have me working with people that are taking over my projects. The biggest one for me, there was a young woman, I think she had just turned 20. I'm not 20. You know, I'm a lot older than that. And I had been working on this one project for at least a year. And she came into the community and she was given my project and I was now under her. Well, there was some things that came up. I made her so wrong a lot, pretty much all the time initially. And I talked to, you know, a friend of mine that was above, you know, that had more time with mind training. And she just kept saying, just follow instruction. That was pretty much all she kept saying. Just follow instruction, Calico. And I'm like, damn, this can't be right. There's nothing about this that is saying, oh, good, just follow instruction. It was, I mean, and so I had to work with my mind, all these thoughts of she's too young, she took over my project. I knew the best way to do it. All of these are beliefs. And it's no different than me yesterday or this morning getting some information that said tomorrow's not going to go the way you want it to. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's a script. We're working on a script that is allowing us to have lessons that we would learn. Only reason we're here. Only reason we're here is to learn these lessons. And it took me 5 years at La Casa to get beaten into humility. But once I got it, it was like, oh, I don't have to take charge of my life. I've been taking care of myself, and I've been the master of my ship from day one. I didn't trust my parents even. So I took off on this journey going, okay, we're turning this boat around. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. So the process of undoing that is to become humble. And to really get, no, I don't know what's in my best interest. And tomorrow, all these thoughts of how to orchestrate this easier so that we get what we needed. It's like, it doesn't matter. Because it's not about getting what we need. Actually, that whole belief of getting what we need, besides being ego-driven, it actually keeps our self-concept of who we think we are in place. And a part of this, and the course is quite clear about this, a part of this whole process is to let go of our identity. And that is not going to just effortlessly drop away. I guarantee that. I guarantee that. Because we have a lot vested in being an identity. I'm somebody. I don't want to be a nobody. And for me, a lot of the fear of being nobody brought up huge beliefs of they're not listening to me. So I want to be heard. That's identity. That's all ego desire. There's no peace of God in that. And so it was really in prayer, Holy Spirit, help me see this need to be heard differently. Like, where'd that come from? And I guarantee if you really have a sincere prayer to the Holy Spirit, what will happen is you will get kind of a little journey in your mind of, it'll replay the film to things. For me, it was a lot of childhood stuff where I've developed these beliefs. No one's listening to me. I have to speak louder in order to be heard, and I'm still not heard, and I'd get upset with it. Well, the only one I need to hear is Holy Spirit. And Holy Spirit doesn't even have a voice. Holy Spirit's in my mind. And so I hear Holy Spirit all the time, except when I get on these thoughts of, oh, I need to control something here. This isn't going the way I planned, so now I need to do something. And then I can't hear anything other than my ego voice of, let's figure out how to get this back on track and smooth and, more workable for everybody. Oh my God, that's not why we're here. We're here to hear Holy Spirit. We're here to follow guidance, which is usually, and this has been my experience, the guidance of Holy Spirit is usually not what I would sign on for. In fact, it usually goes contrary to what I think it's in my best interest. Because I've been listening to what's in my best interest forever. So now it's time to do it a different way, which means, you know, honey, yes, this 20-year-old needs to take this program, and you just need to follow her guidance and say yes and stay in love and not make her wrong ever. And I learned great lessons with it. Oh my God, it was a bumpy ride. And now she's a very dear friend, and I love her to pieces. And she's, you know, she's me. I mean, that's when I thought it was like, oh my God, this is just me at age 20. What a gift. But I couldn't see it initially because I was too busy making her wrong. And once you start making someone wrong, those voices get so loud. It's almost impossible to hear any other voice, unless you're in a lockdown rehab for the mind, in which case they will point out your erroneous thinking and help you back into humility. And with some degree of suffering, I'll get there. So the bottom line is, if I'm listening to any of those ego thoughts, if I'm making anyone wrong, or if it's just even looks like it's not going to go the way I had planned it to go, I'm not trusting God. And I need to get real honest with that. Nope, I'm saying no to God. It was like every time I made this young woman wrong for doing something differently with my program. Every time she asked me to do something and I'd make her wrong, I was saying no to God. And, you know, and this is when, and I work with a lot of people, and, you know, when someone will say something and I say, you know, right there, you're not trusting God. The usual response is, oh, no, no. Oh, no, I love God. I'm trusting God. And it's like, no, you know, if you're fighting the illusion, there is no trust. None. And so the answer to that is to get back into trust as quickly as possible. And what I have found for myself is drop into prayer. Holy Spirit, show me where I'm still trying to drive this fucking bus and you're trying to grab the wheel from me and I won't let you have it. Show me how to do this differently. Because my way certainly did not end with a happy calico. And I'm all going for happy now. Happy is the only thing I'm going for. And happy coexists with the peace of God. And then there's nothing to do. It's just enjoy the ride. Look at the pretty scenery. Eat popcorn. Don't fight it. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm sure it's something you can relate to. Yeah, because it's what we do. We're human. We're all the same. You know, there is not just one mind of God. There's one ego mind. So everything I have thought is just the one ego mind, which we all have, and we're all trying to apply to whatever scenario we're finding on our script. And this is a way to do it differently. And quite frankly, the door to eternity and salvation is right now. You will not find the door to eternity and salvation tomorrow. You could not find the door to eternity and salvation yesterday. The only time is right now. And so if you have some of these thoughts coming up, just drop into prayer, even while I'm talking here, and go, oh, Jesus, Holy Spirit, I can't do this without you anymore. Help me, show me, and allow me the willingness to follow the guidance, no matter how much I protest. And I protested a lot. Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do, and those of you that are watching this on YouTube, if you'd like to be included and get a link for this meeting, just message me with your email and I'll put you on the list. And one of these days I'll have the link all with the times and the dates and everything else that you need, and it'll be more helpful. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end the recording and we can